in the early 90s, Nickelodeon gave us a cartoon that was crude, violent, surreal, disgusting, and utterly brilliant. While other kids were watching safe, squeaky clean Saturday morning shows, there was Ren and Stimpy, the deranged brainchild that somehow snuck its way into children's programming and blew the doors off the animation world. This wasn't just a cartoon, it was a revolution. And it was weird, gloriously weird. Ren and Stimpy premiered in 1991, created by Canadian animator John Krafolosi, aka John K., as part of the original Nicktoons lineup alongside Doug and Rugrats. But while those other shows were wholesome and safe, Ren and Stimpy felt like it was a broadcast from a mental asylum. It followed the bizarre friendship between Ren Hoek, a psychotic, neurotic chihuahua, and Stimson J. Cat, a fat, dim-witted feline. And that was about it. No moral lessons, no emotional development, just chaos. Beautiful animated chaos. But the simplicity of the premise was a red herring. Beneath the surface, the show was doing things no cartoon had ever dared to do before. Let's talk about the art. Because Ren and Stimpy didn't just look different, it felt different. And background art that looked like it was painted by someone who dropped acid and then took an anatomy class. You'd go from a goofy cartoon face to an uncomfortably realistic close-up of a diseased tongue, a bulging eyeball, or a rotting tooth. These were called gross-ups, and they were hand-painted in absurd detail on purpose. And here's the kicker. Instead of consistent expressions, each face was unique. Characters would morph from scene to scene depending on their emotion. It wasn't just stylized, it was expressionism in motion. This wasn't just for the laughs, it was a middle finger to the stiff, formulaic animation of the 1980s. No more cookie-cutter Saturday morning slop. This was art. The sound design? Equally unhinged. No generic cartoon boings here. Ren and Stimpy used a massive library of public domain music and sound effects. 1930s jazz, big band scores, weird percussion. It made every episode feel like a fever dream scored by a demented Looney Tunes composer. And then there were the voice performances. Ren was voiced by John K. himself in the early episodes, channeling Peter Lorre with a nervous breakdown. Stimpy was voiced by the legendary Billy West, who later played Fry, Zap Brannigan, and the Red M&M. Their chemistry? Unmatched. And let's not forget about the absurdity. One episode was about a man who collects hairballs. Another was about a diaper-wearing superhero called Powdered Toast Man. And yes, he flew backward, because why the not? Here's the thing, Ren and Stimpy shouldn't have been on kids' TV. It had violence, sexual innuendos, dark humor, and emotional instability that bordered on psychosis. Episodes were pulled, parents complained, executives panicked, and that's exactly what gave it its edge. The controversy was the show. It poked fun at American culture, mocked commercialism, and satirized everything from masculinity to religion. But pushing boundaries has consequences. John K. was eventually fired from his own show for missed deadlines and clashes with Nickelodeon execs. After he left, the show lost some of its bite, but the legacy was already sealed. With Ren and Stimpy, you don't get SpongeBob. You don't get Adult Swim. You don't get Rick and Morty. The DNA of modern animation, absurdism, expressive faces, adult humor layered under kid-friendly nonsense, it all starts here. Artists like John N. Vasquez from Invader Zim and Pendleton Ward from Adventure Time have all cited the show as inspiration. Even South Park and Family Guy owe some of their chaotic DNA to Ren screaming and Stimpy drooling on themselves. It showed that cartoons could be unhinged, unsettling, and still genius. Even though its creator fell into controversy later in life, a topic for another video, the art itself remains untouchable in its influence. Ren and Stimpy is a cult classic not because it was perfect, but because it was fearless. It proved that animation could be raw, it could be ugly, it could be experimental and still hit like a sledgehammer. It didn't care if you were laughing, cringing, or completely confused, as long as you were feeling something. It broke every rule, it burned the rule book. Then it licked the ashes and barfed them onto the screen, and we loved it for that. So next time you see a weird cartoon with too much detail, a disturbing close-up, or a joke that makes you wonder, how did this get on TV? Thank Ren and Stimpy. They walked so the rest could lose their minds.
Anytime you're ready, Mr. President.
Okay, full.
That's why he give us necks.
Ever breathe oxygen, son? Good, don't start. Me, I'm hooked. Get it? Shut up.
I haven't bathed in 3 weeks.
I may not be the president. I may not be the Pope.
Oh, hey! Cut it out! To wear unwashed lederhosen every single day of the rest of my life.
Your parents are aliens, and while you're at school, they shed their human skins and breathe dryer lint. Night, Ren.
So start decorating your house with disposable diapers. He's a good man, but he's not quite right in the head.
I've known fellers like that.
This is your old pal, Stinky Whizzleteats.
The giant, soft-shelled Stimpy.
No, sir. His butt's too smooth. I've heard of that.